Somebody asked me in one of my videos where I get all of my supplies from for my shell crafts, and well, this is where I get them. I live at the beach, so I make use of this resource. Somebody's already picked through this pile, definitely for glass. Like somebody's already walked through here, but they're not looking for oyster shells like I am. So this was a good time. It's gonna be a good crafting day. I'm gonna try to make as many Christmas ornaments as I can today, and I want to finish them in a day. I don't want to have to do anything that I have to come back later. So these are some shells I'm going to use. These are clean, a little dust there, and I even use the ones with holes in them. Ooh, that one's not clean. This is one of my favorite yard sale finds. This is a table mat. It's a rubber table mat, and I've cut it into pieces. It's a great way to keep your tabletop clean, and it's white, so that way I can see what I'm doing. Just giving the shells a quick clean with a rag and some alcohol, and then just laying them out on my little mat, lining them up and deciding which ones I'm going to use and which ones I'm not going to use. And then I'm using this orange stuff is Play-Doh that I buy at the dollar store, and it's helping me just elevate the shells a little bit so that they're not so wobbly and just a little easier to work with. And I'm going to be using my chunky beach sand on the shells, and I'm using Aleene's clear tacky glue. It is wonderful, great stuff. And what I've done is I've nipped off the tip of the bottle, and you can buy this at Walmart, you can buy it at Lowe's, you can buy it on Amazon. But I've nipped off the tip of the bottle so that the glue itself comes out a little bit faster, and I'm not shaking the bottle so daggone much. And I've decided to go ahead and put glue. I tried the one shell, and it seems like it's just taken a little bit longer time. So then what I decided to do is just add the glue to a bunch of shells all at one time, and then that just seemed to make the process flow a little bit faster. And I am adding a very liberal, generous amount of the tacky glue on the shells. So a good glop, I guess, or however way you want to call it. Just be generous. If you're going to add shells, I mean, you don't have to add the, not shells, but you don't have to add beach sand or chunky beach sand or anything. I mean, you could add glitter. You know, that's a good idea. Maybe I ought to try just doing a couple of glitter shells. That might be kind of interesting. I really like these scallop shells. I don't think I found the scallop shells. That last one is a scallop shell. I don't think I found that one on the beach. So now I'm just going through and putting the chunky beach sand, which I've gotten from my beach. I'm just going to add a very generous amount of that to the shells, and it's much easier to use the cup. So what this is going to be, these are going to be, somebody at one of my shows called this an ocean in a shell. So this is going to be like an ocean in a shell, with the chunky beach sand acting like the beach of the shell, and then I'm going to be pouring resin and adding some other little cool stuff to the inside bowl of the shell. So right now I'm just adding the beach portion of our ocean in a shell. Just sprinkle, sprinkle, sprinkle. And now the oyster shells, I'm going to be doing the same thing, but just not as much, because the little tip of the oyster shells is kind of a little well, it's a lot smaller, so I'm still adding a lot of the Aleene's tacky glue. And this tacky glue dries clear, by the way. It just works really, really well. I've used this a lot on some of my other round ornaments and other ornaments that I've done, but it just works really, really well. It's what I prefer using on this, even over Mod Podge, honestly. Although Mod Podge works really well, and you could probably use Elmer's glue if you wanted to, as long as it dries clear. Just as long as you have enough on there that it's going to hold whatever embellishment you put on there. All right, so now I'm all done. Now I'm all done adding the sand, and it is time to go on to the next step. So I ended up taking all the Play-Doh off because finding out that I really didn't need it. So I'm just taking it off, and I'm going to put it back in my cup and save it for later. Now I'm mixing up my go-to resin, which is a KSRESIN liquidy split, and I'm gloving up. You can use the discount code in the description underneath the video to get a 10% discount. This is a fast set. It's awesome stuff. And I am wearing gloves, and I'm not wearing a respirator, but I do have tons of ventilation. I have my window open, my door open to the outside. There's a huge cross breeze, and I also have my fan going. So always do either wear a PPE or have proper ventilation in your space, please. I am adding 1 drop of the KSRESIN liquid resin dye in turquoise blue, just 1 drop. But before I add the resin down, I am putting a little bit more of the crushed sand into the shells. And then using my gloved hand, I am just using my finger as the brush, and I'm just going to brush on a thin layer of the resin on each of the shells. Just a really thin layer is all I need to get the look that I want. Then just drizzling a little bit on each of the, like where the beach sand meets the shell, just putting a little bit more on that. And then got smart and am putting a glove on my other hand because I'm finding out that it was getting a little bit messy. So that was probably a smart thing to do. So I'm just painting it on, and what will happen so resin is self-leveling, and as it levels out, what it will do is kind of run and form a pool at the lowest part of the shell, and it's going to look like a little tide pool. It is just gorgeous. And don't you just love this color? Isn't it a gorgeous color? I just love it. And some of the shells need just a little bit more sand. I might not have been generous enough, but this color is so gorgeous. I sell all my ornaments for $5 each at art and craft shows, and they sell really well. $5 seems to be the right price for my market, and it's the right price for me. I've added the cost of all of my materials, and then also factored in the amount of time that it takes me to to make these. I don't factor in the amount of time that it takes me to gather the shells and the sand or whatever, because I'm at the beach anyway, so I don't factor that in. But $5 is a really, really good price point. I'd rather sell them than bring them home in a box, you know what I mean? So once I put the blue resin down, I did mix up another batch of clear resin in the same cup. So it's $5 a little bit tinted, really, but it's mostly clear. And what I'm doing with this is I'm drizzling it onto the sand part, and then that's also dripping down onto the blue resin, and it's just forming this really cool little tide pool. There's really no other way to describe it, but it looks like this little tiny ocean in a shell. It's just so cool. I'm going to show you a close-up in just 1 second. But first, what I'm going to do is take my heat gun on a low heat setting and a medium air setting and just tossing some heat on there to pop any bubbles. But look at this close-up. Look. See all the bubbles popping? You just need a little bit of heat. We're not trying to move the resin around. We're just trying to pop bubbles. Well, that's a bad angle there, but these are just so gorgeous. And that's all you need, just a little bit of heat on there to pop the bubbles. But guess what? We are not done yet. We still have a few more steps here. Now, the next step, while the can't talk today, while the resin is still soft, I mean, it's still totally liquid, I'm taking these little silver charms. Well, they're not silver, they're silver colored. There's these little metal charms that I got on Amazon, and some of them do have the little loops because they're charms. So I'm just taking a pair of wire snips and just snipping those off before I put them onto the shells, because I don't want it to be, I don't want it to look ridiculous. But I really like the little whale tails. I think the whale tails are absolutely adorable. But these are little sea creatures. So there's whale tail, there's dolphin, there's an octopus, there's a couple of mermaids, and I tend to move things around too and have tinkeritis, as you know. Little fish are really adorable. So I'm just putting these 1 or 2 on each one of the shells. And once I'm done with that, I am just going to leave this alone for a couple of hours, possibly overnight. It takes, this resin is dry to the touch in 2 to 4 hours and fully cured in 24 hours. All right, so these are done. I do have a little bit of cleanup to do on a few of these. I think I'm just going to take these outside and hit it with my Dremel tool. What can happen, these shells are so porous that sometimes the resin will leak through to the back, like right there. So I can just hit that with my Dremel tool and get that off and clean that up. This one, I knew this one was going to leak through, but that's okay. I'm going to probably actually leave that. I'll have to Dremel off the Play-Doh. It comes off really easily, but I'm going to take this outside and do it. Now it's time to attach hangers, and I'm just using this raffia ribbon that I have. And some of these don't need any hot glue at all. They already have holes, so I'm just using the existing hole to attach the hanger with a knot. And then using my mini glue gun, I'm attaching, I think this is silver glue, and I'm just attaching the raffia ribbon onto the back of some of these shells. I've never really been very happy with using the hot glue on these types of crafts. I just don't feel like the hot glue really is very durable for the long term. And I've also struggled with using UV resin that cures with the light. So I've tried, what is that, the E6000 glue. I've tried tacky glue. I've never really been happy with any method that I've tried. So you're gonna see me use a couple of different methods here with the hot glue, with E6000, with the UV resin. I'm just not happy with any one method is what I'm trying to say. So I'm still working on it, and I'll eventually get it figured out and share my #1 preferred method with you. So what have I tried here? I've done hot glue. I've done the UV resin. The UV resin definitely works the best as far as the durability, but it's just kind of cumbersome to hold the ribbon and then hold the you know, the light and everything. So I'll get it figured out and I'll share the best method. But so yeah, the UV resin probably is going to be the method that I'm going to end up using 100%. All right, all finished. Here they are. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you have any questions, and give this a try. From beach to Christmas tree in almost one day. Thanks for watching. Bye, friends.